All right, so picture this Colorado Rockies, clear blue sky, morning air, so fresh it kind of stings your lungs, right? That's where it all kicked off. And I mean really kicked off, like the sort of thing you'd only expect to see in a movie, except I lived it. And I'm telling you, it was way messier and way more real. Now, let me ask, you ever been stared at like you're some kind of joke just because you don't look like what they pictured? Yeah, that happened. So, there I was Eaton Holloway, major in the U.S. Air Force, standing barely 5 feet 4 inches, probably 108 soaking wet, in this worn old service uniform at this so-called elite survival retreat. The place was a playground for rich kids' daddy's money types, Fortune 500 heirs who wanted a taste of adventure without actually scraping their knees. All around me, designer gear, custom tents, shiny boots that had never seen mud. And then there's Blake Morrison, a guy running this circus, strutting around with that "you know who my father is" energy like he owns the place. Which, technically, he probably does. Winchester Holdings, big deal, right? Except he never wanted the business, always wanted to fly. But Daddy said no. And that's where the trouble started. Blake, with his slick back hair and alligator grin, decided I was his next target. It started out small, a little girl Lily, just 8. Heart of gold comes running up to me, eyes wide, asking if I'm really a pilot because her dad says lady pilots are the bravest people in the world. Cute, right? Well, Blake didn't think so, butts in, shoves the kid aside, and suddenly he's pointing at me, calling me a fraud, saying I must have picked up this uniform at a surplus store. Stolen valor, he yells, and next thing I know, their phones out, people filming, the whole camp looking at me like I'm dirt. You know that feeling? When the air just crackles, because you're the punchline in someone else's joke. Yeah, I do. I've been there before, growing up in rural Virginia with 2 combat vet parents, being the weird kid who wanted to fly when girls weren't supposed to. My dad lost his arm in the Gulf. My mom, her leg in Kuwait. They taught me early, it's not about how you look, it's about what you do. So when Blake's rich friends start chanting, prove it, and the crowd gets ugly, I keep my cool, kneel by Lily, wipe her tears, and whisper, don't ever stop believing in heroes, okay? But man, Blake's not letting up. He calls me a con artist, says I scam vets for charity money, big stuff. And then he asks, what are you gonna do? Fly away. Crowd laughs, and for a second, I almost dowk off, disappear into the trees. But I make one quick call, just one. Major Holloway, the voice on the other end, says, is it time? Yeah. Operation Sky Justice. Let me back up a sec. See this retreat? It's a front. The military sends in candidates to see what they're really made of undercover, off the grid. General Harrison guy who recommended Mayhay knew what was coming. My folks back home, they get too. When I call my dad and tell him, he just says, sometimes people need a reminder that actions have consequences. Mom adds, we didn't raise you to be a doormat. You know what I mean? Family doesn't always coddle you, they make you braver. Now, this is where it gets wild. Next morning, Blake's planned a press conference. He's going to expose me live with faked evidence, paid witnesses, the whole shebang. He's so sure he's got me. He's rehearsing in his tent while I'm suiting up at Peterson Space Force Base, prepping a Rafale with an augmented reality rig. See, there's a new program, Legacy Wings, designed to inspire young pilots by projecting the ghosts of aviation legends right alongside you in the sky. Guess who gets to lead the flight? Yeah, that'd be me. Press conference starts, crowds buzzing, Blake on stage talking trash calls for a criminal investigation, demands I prove myself. He's got everyone eating out of his hand until a shadow slides across the sun. At first, it's just a dot, then it's a roar, and then it's me in the Rafale coming in low with 12 holographic aircraft all around me. There's Amelia Earhart, Jacqueline Cochran, the WS women who broke barriers, flying in perfect formation. The crowd stops breathing. Nobody's filming Blake in a Morthy pointing at the sky, eyes wide, mouths open. I salute in a tight bank, bring the whole formation right over their heads, and the place just explodes, first dead silent, then applause like you've never heard. But it's not over. Parachute drops a metal case at Blake's feet inside, every record, every medal, every piece of proof you could ask for. Presidential commendations, rescue mission reports, photos with generals. Blake goes pale, tries to stammer something, but it's too late. Little Lily runs up, grabs my hand, yells, "I knew you were real." That hits harder than anything, honestly. Now the crowd's turned people who were just laughing at me, are taking photos of my service records, shaking my hand, looking at Blake like he's yesterday's news. I step up, look him in the eye, and say, "You wanted proof? There it is. Hope you learned something." There's no anger in my voice, just pity, maybe. You know the kind? The kind that stings more than yelling ever could. Here's the twist nobody saw coming, even Blake. See, the internet doesn't forgive, but it does love a good comeback story. Overnight, that video's everywhere, 50 million views. Blake's fired, trust fund frozen, friends ditch him. But something happens. She starts reading up on women pilots, writes apology letters to everyone he hurt, volunteers at veteran centers, even organizes a memorial at the Air and Space Museum for fallen female aviators. Not for attention, but because, somehow, seeing what real service looks like changed him. 6 months later, we meet at the memorial. He's different, quieter, looking for a way to make up for what he did. I tell him, "You can't undo the harm, but you can do better." So we start the Wings of Honor Foundation scholarships, mentorships, opportunities for kids who dream but don't have the means. Lily's one of the first, by the way her dad beams with pride. It's wild how things turn out, right? Two people who started out as enemies, now standing side by side, making sure the next generation gets a fair shot. I keep flying, training new pilots, always remembering that the sky doesn't care who you are, just how much you're willing to give. Blake never goes back to his old life, finds something better in helping others. So here's my question for you. What do you think is more important? The uniform or the person inside it? Does redemption mean erasing the past or just refusing to let it define your future? Share your thoughts, right or wrong, justice or pride. Who really gets to wear the wings? Go on, I'm listening.